Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It's week 14 of the Tailgate Committee and a special week indeed. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours from the Tailgate Committee. We've got a fun show, a holiday show packed for you. We're going to talk college football. We're going to sprinkle in some Thanksgiving fun to that as well. My name is Andy Hopper, joined as always by Tom Scavetta and Noah Dibler. Welcome in to the Tailgate Committee, your new favorite college football game day show. We've got a big show this week, our Week 13 recap. We are going to talk Thanksgiving, what we're thankful for, what a couple college football teams should be thankful for this year, and, talk some Thanksgiving food because we can't not talk a little meat and potatoes on the podcast. Got some coaching carousel moves. 2 head coaching spots have been filled in the Power Four, so we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we'll wrap everything up with our six-pack, our preview for this week of games split between Friday and Saturday, folks. Before we do all that, please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, like this video. We are at the Tailgate Committee on YouTube. Also, we are at the Tailgate Committee on Facebook and Instagram, at the Tailgate.com over on Twitter. So let's jump right in, ladies and gentlemen. Our Week 13 recap is how we're going to start off the show. Some fun games last week, some meaningful games last week. We'll start in the Big Ten. Still weird to say in the Big Ten when these 2 West Coast teams get together. USC and Oregon is the first one. 42-27 win for the Ducks. They defend their home turf against USC. Noah, I want to start with you on this one. Give me your breakdown of this game. A big one for Oregon, keeping their title hopes alive, obviously, in the Big Ten. They're going to need either Ohio State or Indiana to lose, obviously, this week. And then kind of effectively ending USC's hopes, in my opinion, of, making the college football playoff.
Yeah, I agree, and this was always going to be tough. I mean, a road game at Outson is never easy by any means, but a couple things diving in this game. First of all, I'd say the biggest thing for me in this game, guys, was the more complete team won, and what I mean by that, besides the Captain Obvious thing, is Oregon was able to stay balanced on offense. They were able to run the football. Noah Whittington in this game averaged 5.5 yards per carry. He had a touchdown, and they were kind of doing their own thing. Jordan Davison had 50 yards as well. Whereas on the other side, this USC offense, guys, was made totally one-dimensional by this Oregon defense. They only averaged 1.9 yards per carry on the ground, which meant that Jade Maava basically had to pass over and over, 43 pass attempts this game to try and keep him in it. And because they're one-dimensional, I mean, this Oregon defense, we talked about them all year, is really solid, guys. They were able to force 2 interceptions, one by Jaden Kennedy, and Ife Ebedegwu. Hopefully I got that one right. But I was impressed by what the Oregon defense did limiting USC in this game, and their offense did enough as well. A ton of mistakes as well, penalty-wise for USC. They had 8. Oregon had 11 as well, but they were able to overcome that. Oregon won the turnover battle 2-1 as well, got 2 fourth-down stops. So overall, you mentioned the CFP odds, Andy. I didn't think USC had much of a chance left anyway, because I thought they had very little chance of winning this game. I think Maava, he tried his best. He tried to keep him in it, but you can't run the ball against a defense like this, right? It's always going to be tough. This Oregon defense also had 6 tackles for loss. So, and USC missed a field goal too. Just a lot of mistakes for USC. And for Oregon, I think they went out and did what I expected them to do, in my opinion. It was a solid win against a good team at home. And they're sitting really good right now for their playoff chances and the Big Ten chances as well.
Absolutely. Whittington with a big day on the ground, like you said, 19 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. Interesting here, just looking back at it, this was a sloppy game penalty-wise. 8 penalties for the Trojans, 103 yards. 11 penalties for the Ducks for 130 yards. So Oregon winning that game, but I'm sure Dan Lanning is going to be mentioning that this week, that you're not going to win many more big games if you have 130 yards of penalties. Tom, your thoughts on this one in the Big Ten? Dante Moore and Jaden Mayava. And then another big game that Lincoln Riley seems to have faltered in.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten equals the Big Quack, right? USC really struggled in this game. They saw their quarterback throw multiple interceptions. Mayava, a lot of those yards came when they were trailing, coming from behind. And the one element as to why Oregon won this game, they play awesome complementary football. They run it through your mouth and they play good defense. They outrushed USC 179 to 52, and they pounded the rock for 3 scores. Also, yeah, you want to talk about ugliness. It was a flag fest. Both teams were heavily penalized. I think both surpassed 100 penalty yards or just right around that. USC also had 2 turnovers, so they are officially eliminated from the CFP. Even if they did win last week, it would still be an outside chance, in my opinion. Right. Oregon, on the other hand, they need Indiana to lose this week and for them to win to have any sort of chance at the Big Ten championship. I think they would need both Indiana and Ohio State to lose, I believe, and it would come down to like some sort of tiebreaker. So, but I don't think they're officially eliminated from the Big Ten championship yet. Quick story: Noah Whittington stood up Jenny Dell this afternoon. Did not show up to the interview, and the AD basically had to make some sort of excuse. It was really, really bad, man.
Bad karma for the Ducks ahead, potentially. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to the SEC, Missouri and Oklahoma. The Sooners get it done again. This one, a 17-6 victory. Only 3 points scored total in the second half. A real defensive battle here. Pribula was back for the Tigers, 231 yards, 2 interceptions. Mateer was the straw that stirred the Sooners' drink, as he has been all year. 173 yards, 2 scores through the air, and 60 yards on 18 carries. The completion percentage, not that impressive, 14 for 30. Satanega, I think we've all said his name differently on the show at certain points this year. Goes for over 100 yards and a touchdown on only 3 receptions. So big day for him. Oklahoma gets another win. Missouri fails. They've been close in a couple games. Like I said, they were a couple plays away from beating Alabama earlier this year, but they have just not been able to beat any ranked teams in SEC play. They're now 3-4 in conference. Oklahoma's 9-2, 5-2 in the SEC, really trying to solidify that at-large bid in the college football playoff. Tom, we'll start with you on this one. Give me your thoughts on the Sooners getting this one done.
Yeah, look, they've been winning games the way they have all season long. They play really excellent defense. They forced 2 Pribula interceptions, and they held the Tigers to only 70 rushing yards. So without even watching a whole lot of this game, I can tell you exactly what they did. They got the Tigers into 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and that was able to unleash what the Sooners do best, which is rush the passer. They had 4 sacks and forced 2 turnovers. John Mateer in this game, he did have under a 50% completion percentage, but he still threw for 2 touchdowns. He was able to get the job done. I give Eli Drinkwitz and his team a lot of credit. They've had some injury issues this season. They were able to stay in the game, but all in all, their season is done. And yeah, sorry, Noah. I know you had them as a dark horse. They're still a really good football team. It's just the SEC is so competitive, and this is Oklahoma's year to make the CFP.
Noah, you've been high on Missouri all year and just had a couple things that just didn't really go their way. Obviously, Pribula misses some time, so you never know how that could affect some different games. But your thoughts on this one and, what it means for Oklahoma? What does Missouri maybe need to do differently going into next season, if anything, or you think this might be a case of just bad injury luck?
I definitely would say the injury didn't help. But I think it's also like Tom said, the SEC is so tough, guys. And when I said that they were a dark horse, I didn't say I thought they would win the SEC or anything. I said I thought they'd
Sure.
be like an 8 or 9 win team, which is what they're on pace to be. But yeah, I think in this one, guys, for me, Oklahoma is getting their stuff together at the right time. This defense, and this is such a far cry. We just talked about Lincoln Riley and how he comes up short in these big games like this. Remember when Oklahoma, these defenses could not stop a nosebleed over there in the Big 12. But what Brent Venables has done since he's come over there, you got to remember he was working it with that Clemson defense that was elite. They had no offense over there either. They were basically carried by their defense. He's come over here and revolutionized this defense, guys. Now I know this was, a Missouri team that's kind of struggling. Pribia, I don't think he was 100%. If I'm being honest, he did not have a good game with 2 interceptions, but still they were able to shut down the running game right. I believe, they won the turnover battle 2-0 as well. Just a solid performance, like you said, Andy. Their offense, excuse me, didn't really do a lot, but they didn't really need to. They just needed to, get those 2 touchdowns on the board like they did, and that was basically it. Plus, they're at home, so I think that was another advantage for them. But they dominated the line of scrimmage. They got 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Taylor Wine, if I pronounced that right, had 1.5 sacks in this game. They also had interceptions from Bowen and Jacoby Johnson. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just Oklahoma went out there. They kind of did what I expect them to do against, a fairly depleted Missouri team, but still a respectable team by any means. And this is an Oklahoma team. They don't have to worry about, getting the SEC championship game or anything like that, right? They're way out of contention. They just got to focus on don't look past LSU this week. That is a game I think is a bit closer than people might think. That's definitely not a team you want to underestimate. They have nothing to lose pretty much. But if they can win that, they're solidly, guys, going to be one of those top upper ranked teams in that first week with a home playoff game as well. I think that would be a big advantage for them too. But I think they're playing their best football of the season at the right time. They're on a 3-game winning streak right now as well.
Absolutely big one for the Sooners this week, keeping their hopes alive. Let's go to the Big 12, and this might have been the wildest finish, the wildest game of the week. Utah 51, Kansas State 47. The Wildcats were leading by 12 midway through the fourth quarter, and Dampier leads the Utes all the way back. He scores a 1-yard touchdown with 56 seconds left to go ahead for the go-ahead score with 56 seconds left, and that was all she wrote. They survived the scare. They're on to 9-2. They're gonna need BYU to lose. Well, even then, the BYU would probably have the tiebreaker. Well, either one. So yeah, they're not going to make the Big 12 championship game. Ignore that part, fellas. But this was a big one for them to get to 9 wins. They have a 10-win season still on the table. Kansas State, by the way, they had their 6th win, their bowl eligibility staring them right in the face, and they absolutely pissed down their legs. Lost this one in the fourth quarter. Noah, we'll start with you here. Big one for Utah as far as points. I'm sure they're not very happy with their defense, but you get to 9 wins, and anytime you can have the opportunity to win 10, I think that's a successful season.
For sure, but I will say this, guys, since we're talking about college football playoff implications at this point with teams like Utah. If I'm a Utah fan, I'm thinking, a good thing we survived this game, but holy crap, you got a lot to figure out, man. I'm looking, they almost allowed 500 yards rushing, guys, 472 on the ground against the Kansas State team that came in this game 5-5. Was ranked team starting the year, but had a terrible start to the season. And they were at home as well. And you come out, and like you said, Andy, they needed a pretty solid comeback to come back and even win this game with their CFP hopes on the line. Like, I will say this. Big credit to Dampier. I've talked him up all season. I really liked him last year as well. He had absolutely no help on that New Mexico team, and he showed some really solid signs. I think he had a good game in this one. 4 total touchdowns, over 350 yards of offense, carrying the offense. Wayshawn Parker did a great job in the running game as well. But, man, Joe Jackson, and I'm not talking about shoeless Joe Jackson. I'm talking about Joe Jackson, Kansas State running back,
Yeah.
293 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, man, this defense has got it. You cannot go into a potential CFP matchup, right, with some of the rushing attacks that you're going to face, giving up how many was it? Yeah, 11.2 yards per carry and 5 rushing touchdowns against this game, guys. Major red flags for me, in my opinion, from this game for Utah. I mean, that there's just so much to look at and not like about this game. Yes, they got the win, which in the end is most important. But man, you gave up almost 600 yards against a team that was 5-5, has struggled all season. Uh, Again, survive and move on. But for Utah, I think they're ranked like 101st guys against the rush on the season, which a big cause for concern. They got it done, but man, they got to figure something out. This is not good.
Absolutely. Tom, what was your thoughts on this one in the Big 12?
Yeah. This game showed you exactly the reason why Texas Tech has been the best team in the Big 12 all season long. Neither of these teams have played defense, quite frankly. Each team with over 550 yards of total offense. Dampier accounted for 4 touchdowns, which was great, but their defense almost lost them this game. What really saved them was their running game. Wayshawn Parker with 100 yards. They had 292 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. And what was insane is they were outrushed 472 to 292, and they still found a way to win this game. Joe Jackson, as Noah was talking about there, had a monster game. When you average over 12 yards per carry, you're good. I don't care who you're playing against. I don't care how good your offensive line is. It takes some sort of skill to eclipse that throughout the entire game. Utah, I believe I don't know if they still have an outside chance to make the Big 12. I think we were just talking about it, right? It's likely going to be Tech and BYU. Because Utah
lost to both of them.
Lost to both of them. So they're in a position now where you're praying that one of them slip or both of them slip this week. And then who
lost to both of them, but that's kind of what I was realizing as I was reading it. It's like BYU and Texas Tech each only have 1 loss. So even if they lose this week, all 3 of them have 2 losses in the Big 12, and they both beat Utah. So I think that would send both of them. They're in, right?
They're both in, but I think what you're hoping for is when they meet each other, one of them gets a 3rd loss, and then somehow your resume is stronger. Your resume is stronger than Miami's to get in. That's the only hope they have at this point. But a 4-point win against Kansas State where you give up 47 points does not sit well with the College Football Playoff Committee, and that's why they're ranked where they're at.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the last game I wanted to talk about from last week. And I want to give this team their flowers a little bit, and I guess give this coach his flowers a little bit. We talked some shit about Pat Narduzzi and his approach to the Notre Dame game, basically saying, I don't care. We're just focused on the 2 ACC games after. We all picked Georgia Tech last week. I had them as my lock of the week, and that is when you knew they were fucked. Pittsburgh 42, number 16, Georgia Tech 28. So Pittsburgh is keeping their hopes alive for the college football playoff and the ACC championship. Obviously, they would have to win out. So they got to win this week and win the ACC championship to get in. They jump out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. Pitt comes back in the second quarter, scores 14 of their own. But Georgia Tech comes back in the second quarter, scores 14 of their own, 28-14 at the half, and it just never was really enough. Georgia Tech scored 14 again in the fourth quarter. I think they got it as close to 35-28, but there was another turnover, I believe, that led to a Pitt score, 42-28 the final. Henschel is the real deal, boys. I think you talked about him last week, Tom. 20 for 27 and 2 scores in this game. And how about Turner? 21 carries for 201 yards and a score, Georgia Tech's defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. That's been a theme, I guess, for our recap here. Tom, I want to start with you on this one. Georgia Tech got smacked around by your Irish, but they certainly rebounded in a big way in this one.
Yeah, for Pittsburgh, right? Staying alive. Yeah, we did smack them around, and the fact that they went up 21-0 against Georgia Tech in the first quarter puts a fork in Georgia Tech. There's no way they make it now. But Mason Heinzel, actually, he went to the same high school as my coworker's wife. So shout out to him. Obviously, 30 plus years apart in age, but still, that's a pretty cool factoid there. And yeah, quite frankly, Georgia Tech, again, it's as simple as this. If you let any running back run for 200 yards, you don't deserve to win the football game. That's what it comes down to. And then on top of that, a quarterback who we've all spoken very highly of made mistakes in this game. Haynes King had 2 picks, including the 1 pick six that really put the momentum in Pittsburgh's favor. And it was a shame, too, because against the pass, they weren't bad. They had 6 sacks. The problem was the 2 turnovers, and they got outrushed 186 to 121. Sayonara to Georgia Tech.
Sayonara to the Yellow Jackets. Unfortunately, they've been a fun story this year. Noah, I know you're smiling down there because they faltered and they got a big game with your Bulldogs this week. But what did you make of this performance at home, by the way, against Pittsburgh?
I think Tom hit on something very important, which is that Haynes King, who we've talked a lot of good about, did not have a good game in this one, guys. He doubled his interception count for the season. I mean, he had 2 interceptions coming in this game. He had 2 in this game as well. But I also have to give a lot of credit to the Pittsburgh defense, not just for forcing those turnovers as well, right? But with this Haynes combination of Haynes King and Jamal Haynes, this is a team that can be really good at running the football on you if you let them. But credit to the Pittsburgh defense. They held both those guys to under 4 yards per carry. So that was a great effort by them. And Heinzel, like Tom said, I thought he had a very efficient game in this one, especially because his offensive line gave him literally no help whatsoever. He got sacked 6 times in this game, but he still went 20 for 27, 226, 2 touchdowns, and most importantly, no interceptions. Winning that turnover battle, always big in games like this. Turner had a great game as well, averaged almost 10 yards per carry. And for Georgia Tech, I mean, I wish I could say I feel sorry for him, but I don't. I've seen so many Georgia Tech fans I know crying on Facebook this week about how devastating this loss feels because their CFP hopes, let's be honest, are now over. They're still 9-2, but they have a really, really tough game this week as well. And this just killed their I don't even know. Let me look at the standings real quick. So they did have some ACC hope left because the 3 teams ahead of them were 6-1. They're now 6-2. That is now pretty much cooked, especially because Pittsburgh is one of the 3 teams ahead of them, and now they will have a tiebreaker. But poor Haynes King chose a bad time of the year to have probably his worst game of the season, and Georgia Tech loses. You really hate to see it.
You hate to see it, but yeah, that's a big one in the ACC. There's so many scenarios that can go down in the ACC. We still don't know who will be the representative for that conference in the college football playoff. That's our Week 13 recap. Let's get a little festive, folks. Let's do our Thanksgiving segment. So I wanted to start this off. I asked the boys, give me one team, fan base, coach, whatever, really, and what they should be thankful for this season. So we're going to start off like that. Tom, I'll start with you. Who's your team, your player, your coach, your fan? What is it?
So for me specifically, I'm most thankful for these 3 things. People, I should say. CJ Carr, Jeremiah Love, and Marcus Freeman. I'm thankful that Notre Dame has set themselves up again to make the college football playoff. CJ Carr has grown a lot throughout the season. From the late August night down in Miami to the swirling winds up in South Bend, Indiana, this Notre Dame team has gone on a journey. And I am excited to watch that journey play out on NBC's documentary, Here Come the Irish. this season. And taking a turn, it's very discouraging when you lose a national championship game, right? And you have to come back the next season and you have to try to do it all over again with several new faces on the team in several key positions. I mean, you look at what we lost: Riley Leonard, Pat Coogan, Rocco Spindler, Jack Kaiser, Ben Morrison, you name it, Riley Mills, Howard Cross, Xavier Watts. All of these guys left for the NFL, and they're succeeding, and I'm happy for them. But what Notre Dame needed to do was develop, recruit, replace. That's what we do, and that's what Marcus Freeman has done since taking over as head coach at Notre Dame. And he received a major boost before the Stanford game this week. On Wednesday, today, at the time of this recording, the Irish have landed 4-star linebacker Amari Irvin, the number 12 ranked linebacker in the country. And what Marcus Freeman and Chris Sash have been able to work with this Notre Dame defense. If the two of you remember, the first couple of weeks of the season were brutal for this Notre Dame defense. But look now, they are now just allowing 17 points per game. They rank 13th in opponent scoring in the entire country. And on top of that, you have, I mentioned Carr and Love. Carr, he has the it factor. The game comes naturally to him. You look at these beautiful throws he's made, and Jeremiah Love has inserted himself into top 5 Heisman consideration after last week's performance. 17 rushing touchdowns on the year, and the fact that he has some scores as a receiver as well. He is such a well-rounded football player. I am so thankful for these 3 players. 2 players and 1 coach. These 3 are the major reason why Notre Dame is in the CFP conversation and currently in one of those 12 seats. They are the reason, not the favoritism from the committee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Noah, what are you? Well, I guess I don't know how you did it. Did you do what you're thankful for? Did you call it a specific fan base, coach, or team? Hit me with it.
Well, I went a few different directions. So first of all, I'm thankful for some guys on this Georgia program. First of all, I got to give a shout out to Gunnar Stockton. I think he's done a great job coming in as the full-time starter this year. He's done really well, had some big games. Got to give a shout out to Kirby Smart as well. I think he's had some really good coaching moments this season. Most recently, that onside kick, I thought that was an amazing call by him. In my opinion, still the best coach in college football. Got to give 2 more shout outs as well to Georgia. First of all, Zachariah Branch. Nice to have a number 1 receiver on Georgia again. I think he's been really good this season. And what kind of football fan would you be if you didn't give a shout out to some special teams? Peyton Woodring, 12 for 13 on field goals this season, hasn't missed an extra point. He's been rock solid. But a couple other shout outs. First of all, I want to give shout outs to the Florida Gators, Tennessee Volunteers, and Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Florida for having an embarrassing season. Tennessee for choking to us in that game that they definitely should have won. And Georgia Tech for slipping up this week. Really excited to see all those. And you know what? Someone else I think should be very thankful, guys, especially today, Brian Kelly, because it just came out today that LSU owes him all $54 million. Apparently we actually didn't fire him, but he's not a part of our program. BS didn't fly. So congratulations, BK. Hope you enjoy that $54 million wherever you are doing whatever you're doing.
He should be very thankful for that. Yeah, LSU informed Brian Kelly and his legal team today that he was indeed fired without cause, so he will be paid the $54 million buyout. Yeah, Noah, you did go a little different with that one. That's funny. I am thankful for Luke Altmaier, and I'm going to miss him as the quarterback of Illinois dearly. Illinois fans had very, very high expectations for this team going in to the season, and that's not necessarily going to work out, but we're going to back-to-back bowl games. You got an opportunity to win a rivalry game this week, win 8 games, and win a bowl game. So that unfortunately, I don't root for a perennial championship program like Georgia or Notre Dame, and that doesn't happen around here all the time. So we got to celebrate the little things. But Luke Altmaier, I believe, is now 3rd all time in quarterback wins. in school history. He's the first quarterback in school history to throw for 20-plus touchdowns in back-to-back seasons, which is wild to think about with some of the talented quarterbacks you've had here. But he came here, he came here from Ole Miss. He took a chance on Illinois, and we won 10 games. He's won a lot of games last year and this year and last year and in his career. And he has brought some very fun moments to myself, my family, fellow Illini fans, my fellow season ticket holders, my cousins, Anthony and Jim and Mark and everybody, our whole tailgate crew, and some moments I'll never forget. And I really have not had this much fun watching this football team these past few years, since it just reminds me of being a little kid and moving here and going to games and with my stepdad and all that. It just brings back all these great memories of the 08 Rose Bowl and like that same kind of feeling. That's how you want to feel, right? And there's just nothing like a college football Saturday, and especially when you get to go watch a team that's actually, contending. I'm very thankful for Brett Bielema. I wasn't very happy, obviously, and as they weren't after the result at Wisconsin, but he's got, I believe, the most wins through the first 4 or 5 seasons of any Illinois coach in history. So I believe they're going in the right direction. So I'm very thankful for that. And I'll miss Luke dearly. And I'm very, very, very high chance that some cheers are shed on senior day when I'm freezing my ass off in the projected snow in Memorial Stadium on Saturday. So Thanksgiving is always a great time to reflect. And, football is, our fandom is such a big part of our lives. And, sometimes you can take for granted. It's like, man, I only have a couple more opportunities to watch this guy play in an Illinois uniform or a Georgia uniform or Notre Dame uniform or whatever team you root for. So you try to cherish that and appreciate these dudes. And my cousin Anthony and I actually got an opportunity to meet Luke and meet Gabe Backus and David Olano and a bunch of the U of I guys came up and talked to us at a basketball game a couple weeks ago, and couldn't have been nicer dudes. So that makes it just even easier and even better to root for. So, we're getting a little sentimental here on our Thanksgiving episode, but let's talk some meat and potatoes. Let's talk some food, some Thanksgiving food, because I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't on a Thanksgiving episode. So, boys, I want you to tell me what your ideal Thanksgiving plate looks like. Are you a ham or a turkey kind of guy? Do you, or is there a different? Is there a secret meat? A surprise meat that I'm missing here? What's your must-have side dish? Are you a dessert kind of guy? A pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, something different? No, I want to start with you on this one. Give me, what's a Thanksgiving look like for Noah Dibler?
Oh, wow. You guys know I like food. I mean, come on now. But, for me, okay, first of all, I like ham more than turkey, but turkey is Thanksgiving. Like, you can't have ham on Thanksgiving. If you do, I think something's very wrong with you. Ham is for Christmas, in my opinion. That's when you eat a nice big ham. But for me, guys, it's all about turkey. I love stuffing as well. I could have a whole plate full of stuffing with gravy on top. I mean, that's my favorite, probably the best thing out of all Thanksgiving. But also green bean casserole. Love that. Love a good roll as well. Some deviled eggs. Those are some of my favorites. Never been into the cranberry sauce. Never actually really eaten a lot of potatoes or mac and cheese stuff like that for Thanksgiving. Much more traditional, I guess. But yeah, sorry, Tom. Sorry to do it to you. And by the way, speaking of, I got some hot takes for you.
Hit me.
Pecan pie and pumpkin pie are both garbage. I think they both suck. Don't like nuts. Don't like pumpkins. I like a nice like chocolate pie or something like that, man.
I love a
That's
chocolate
what I'm
pie.
Yeah. There you
Chocolate
see
mousse pie is my favorite.
exactly. But yeah, that's basically it. Also, some drinks. Some drinks are always good. And if you know, but yeah, there you go.
The drinks, maybe a cousin walk or two. Tom, what does a Thanksgiving look like up there in New York? Or are you going to Florida for Thanksgiving? You're not going to Florida, are you?
No, I'm staying here. I'm here. My parents are here. I mean, you saw my mom photo.
Oh yeah, we just saw
5 minutes ago. Guys, meat and potatoes. Like seriously, that's where it's at. I do agree with. I love turkey. Love turkey. I love my mashed potatoes. They're always a classic. They are my favorite side dish to have with anything. Stuffing is good. Sometimes I don't like all the junk that's in it. I like when it's like one or two specific things. Yeah, speaking of Andy's little fake dialect there, we do have a very high amount of Italian stores and stuff up here. So some Italian bread is nice with some prosciutto and mozzarella. You got to get a little.
Look at him pulling the accent out. I like
you got to
it.
get a little ethnic there with it. Also, mac and cheese. Obviously, that's fun. I like sliced cranberry sauce. I don't like the stuff that is like all like how do I
congealed together out of the can?
Correct. I like it when it's sliced out of the can in pieces. That's great. And of course, biscuits and gravy, guys. I mean, that's just awesome.
Gotta have that in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm more of a turkey over ham guy for Thanksgiving, but all in all, in general, both are equally as good in my opinion. And yeah, just some Italian bread. That's what we do up here. You like. You don't even have to be Italian. You still eat it.
No,
it's that good, but yeah. And are we doing dessert yet or no?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me your dessert. Yeah, I'm hungry too.
Dessert. I'm sorry, old boy. I love pies. I love pies. Apple and pumpkin pie. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, I'm a big pumpkin guy. I don't know if you guys know this. I drink pumpkin in my coffee almost every day. That might be news. That might be news to some of you, but at least this time of year in the fall season, I'm kind of a pumpkin whore, to say the least.
Wow.
Cheesecake and pie. Cheesecake and pie. I mean, you can't go wrong with cheesecake. But yeah, a nice big apple pie, maybe a slither of pumpkin in there, and all in all, any type of cheesecake is good. Vanilla cheesecake, chocolate mousse. I know Andy was talking about that before. But yeah, man, Thanksgiving is a nice time to get fat. Put on a couple pounds, and then you sit there and you watch the 4:30 football game with your expanded belly. It is the best and worst feeling ever simultaneously.
Yep, I'm getting up to that. I've got 2 kids now. I'm getting the dad status, so it's eat and then fall asleep on the couch. I get that quick Thanksgiving nap in, but I am a ham over turkey guy myself. I don't dislike turkey. I just think ham is better. I think we're doing ham tomorrow, going over to my in-laws' place. But yeah, big for me. Yeah, just ham, mashed potatoes, some gravy on there, big on the rolls. I like putting it all on the roll and making a little sandwich out of it. I crush a bunch of those. I'm not a huge mac and cheese guy, but I like a baked mac as well. Growing up, my family is also Italian, Tom, so they would always have like a spaghetti. We'd have lasagna some years too, mixed in with all the Thanksgiving food. Dessert wise, yeah, I'm like a chocolate pie. I'm not into pumpkin. I like a good cookie or brownies or like a cake or something. But yeah, so my mouth is watering now. I think maybe we just end the show and we all go eat. But I'm definitely ready for Thanksgiving. Some good, hopefully some good football. The Bears are playing on Black Friday. Illinois is playing UConn at Madison Square Garden on Friday. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. Should be fun. Always great to see the family, spend time, all that good stuff. But now that we've made you hungry, let's get back to the football. All right, let's go on to our next segment. This is the coaching carousel. 2 of the Power 4 head coaching vacancies have been filled. Virginia Tech hires James Franklin, and Oklahoma State just announced they will hire Eric Morris from North Texas. So a big one for them. Morris will stay with North Texas through the end of the season. We'll get into that a little bit, but Tom, let's talk James Franklin first, because this one has been in the works for a little bit, and they finally have made the announcement. They have came to an agreement. He was on campus. He was in Blacksburg this week for the game. Your thoughts? So I want a grade. Give me a grade for the hire. Do you agree or disagree with the move? We'll start with Franklin, and then let's start with Franklin. Let's get your thoughts on Franklin, Noah's thoughts on Franklin, then we'll go to Eric Morris.
Absolutely. So with James Franklin, this is a guy who made the national semifinal last year with Penn State. Things went south this year. I do agree with the hire for Virginia Tech. In fact, I think it was a home run hire. This guy has a lot of experience. He's done wonders at Vanderbilt. He helped rebuild Penn State essentially from the ground up. And they landed a 4-star running back last night. Their first unanimous 4-star running back to commit to Virginia Tech since David Wilson in 2009. The kid's name is Messiah Mickens, original Penn State recruit, decommits. And I believe Penn State had over 15 players decommit once they did fire James Franklin. So I am excited about that. As far as a letter grade, I'm not the biggest fan of letters, but I'm going to give James Franklin an A-. I thought about giving it an A straight up, but I'm going to roll with A- because of the way he finished at Penn State. I do think he is a very good program builder, head coach. He connects with his recruits very well. But when it comes to in-game management, sometimes he's just lost. He is not a top 5 college head coach, and he never will be. That's okay. He is definitely top 15 to 20. But this is a guy that's going to come in and he's going to change some things around. You're going to see a culture shift. And Virginia Tech is in a conference that is basically up for grabs every single year. The one thing about Franklin, though, it's going to be interesting, right? How he handled the media at Penn State his last few years was quite interesting, right? You would see him get excited in press conferences and kind of say these cringeworthy quotes at times, where he would just ramble. And obviously, I know a lot about that. But and then, you sort of look at the way he handled themselves on the sideline. It was very opposite of what a lot of head coaches do, as in terms of them being hotheads on the sideline, but they keep it cool for PR. Franklin was sort of the opposite, in my opinion. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the dynamic is at a lower market in a place like a Virginia Tech, a team that is not as well known overall, and they're just looking to get back to, competence. They want to be a respectable program again, and I think for that, Franklin's the perfect guy for this university at this time.
I mean, we know he can recruit, Tom. You said it, like 15 guys decommitted. I think he's already got a couple, including Mickens, that have came over to Virginia Tech. That says a lot about him. What you said earlier, it says a lot about him as a coach, to be able to, have that kind of gravity with these recruits. And it's more about wanting to coach by him and not so much, the name Penn State or the name Virginia Tech. Noah, let's get your thoughts. Give me a grade for the James Franklin hire, and agree, disagree with the move. Break down the situation for me in the eyes of Noah Dibler.
I was thinking A- like Tom. I'm actually going to go a little higher. I'm going to go with an A. And here's why. In my opinion, I think this is about the best guy a program like Virginia Tech could hire, because Virginia Tech is not a program that's going to get the hottest coaching name on the market, right? They're never going to get a guy like Lane Kiffin, who's probably the hottest out there right now. He's going to want to go to a program like LSU. This is a program that's never won a national title. I believe they've only made a championship game once and lost to Florida State back in '99. They're not, going to be top 5 in recruiting every year. They're not a bluebird or whatever. So what they need, guys, is they need a guy like a Frank Beamer, who they used to have, that coach that can get you 8, 9, 10 wins every season. You're always going to be a respectable team with him. And that's basically James Franklin's MO. He's never going to be, that national championship winning elite coach, in my opinion. But we've seen, with what he did most of his tenure at Penn State and what he did rebuilding that Vanderbilt program up from, ground up pretty much, is he can be that guy that can win you 9, 10 games in a tough conference. And I think that is what Virginia Tech should be aiming for. I don't think they're a program that, is ever going to be aiming for a national title, at least not anytime soon. But, Tom mentioned it. They already got a 4-star running back in basically immediately. Penn State had so many people decommit because of Franklin getting fired. This guy can recruit, and for the most part, he can coach as well. Now, I do think, he's one of those guys you wouldn't trust him in a big game. I think we've seen more than enough evidence to believe that, right? With his record against top 5, top 10, all this has been beaten to death like a dead horse. But for that guy that can get you 8 to 10 wins every season, like I said, I think that's what Virginia Tech was looking for, and I think they got the perfect guy for it. So I do agree with the move. I think it's like an A or an A minus type of hire.
Yep, I'm right there with you guys. It feels like, especially with the way the ACC is, like it just feels wide open. It has been this year. It feels like going forward, I don't really know. You don't really know what it's going to look like. But if he can keep recruiting four-star kids to come to Virginia Tech, I think they'll be pretty good in the ACC. So I don't remember if we mentioned this, but his contract at VT. 41.75 million over the next 5 years. This is according to ESPN's David Hale. The deal extends through 2030 and is heavily backloaded. So let's talk about Eric Morris, the North Texas head coach that has the Oklahoma State head coach, former North Texas head coach, will be the 25th head coach in Oklahoma State's history. He has accepted the deal. After all of the success this year, North Texas is 10-1, really been able to turn that program around. He is in his 3rd year at North Texas. He was the head coach at Incarnate Word. He was at Texas Tech for a while. He was at Washington State. I mean, this guy has recruited a lot of really talented players. Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, John Mateer, Cam Ward, Chandler Morris, Drew Mestemaker, some of the quarterbacks that he has worked with, and some big-time names on that list. So Eric is going to Oklahoma State, but he will finish the year with North Texas. So obviously this is a little different situation than James Franklin, because he was sitting around waiting for a call, where, Morris is in the middle of a year with North Texas where they are right in the playoff conversation. If they win the American Athletic Conference, they could be the G5 bid. How much of a distraction does this pose to the Mean Green? I want to talk about that. So Noah, we'll go reverse. We'll start with you for Eric Morris. Give me a grade for this hire. Do you agree or disagree with the move? And then how much of a distraction do you think this poses to North Texas for the, as the season winds down?
First, for a grade, I'm going to go with a B minus. I think this is a very high risk, high reward type of hire, in my opinion. In that Eric Morris, as you mentioned, Andy, does have a big pedigree with quarterbacks. I mean, Cam Ward was one you mentioned, but also some other ones. First of all, I didn't realize this, guys, but Drew Mestemaker, who's a redshirt freshman leading the league in passing yards this season, he was actually a backup quarterback his senior year in high school. So in basically less than 2 years, Eric Morris was able to turn him from a backup quarterback, walk-on type of guy, into a guy that, like I said, is leading the entire country in passing yards. So I thought that was impressive. Also, another Morris, actually. I forgot about this. Chandler Morris was at North Texas last season. Had a really good season there, and obviously, he's doing really good with Virginia this season as well, with an 8-1 record. So there is some pedigree there. However, I think there is an element of risk as well, because let's be honest, guys, this is basically based on what Eric Morris has done this season. Before this year, you'd have an Incarnate Word, which, he did do a really good job there, but obviously an FBS level job is a bit of a bit of a higher level, right? And then before this season, he's had a 5-7 season in 2023 and 6-7 with a bowl game loss in 2024. So that's where I think the risk comes in. He's had one really awesome season at the FBS level in the American Conference. It's a bit of a step up, right, to go to a program like an Oklahoma State. However, I still think overall it's a good hire, and I overall agree with the logic of it because Oklahoma State is another one of those programs to where I don't think you're going to get one of those top level elite, coaching guys in the coaching carousel, right? You want to get, maybe a younger guy, and Eric Morris is only 40 years old, and he has a good track record with quarterbacks. So I think overall it's a good hire. As for whether or not this is going to be a distraction, I don't think so. I could understand why it might be, but in my opinion, I think something like the Lane Kiffin situation is 1,000,000 times more distracting than anything like this is, right? They know he's not going to be there this season, but he's locked in and he's going to be in for the long haul for the rest of this season at least. So I don't think it's a major distraction.
All right, Tom, same question to you. Give me a letter grade for Morris. Give agree, disagree with the move, and then how much of a distraction do you think this poses in your eyes for the Mean Green?
Yeah, so I'm going to give this a B plus. So I'm going to go a little higher than Noah because I think this guy's young. He's 40 years old, and the American is the closest thing right now you can get to a Power 4 without being a Power 4, right? I mean, they're fighting for a CFP spot with Navy and Tulane. They're 10-1, I believe. Runs the country's #1 offense, averaging 503 yards per game. And the Mean Green have dropped 50 points in at least 6 games this season. And Mestemacher, who is a first-year starter, leads the nation in passing yards. And Noah mentioned this briefly before, signs Mateer at Washington State and Cam Ward at Incarnate Word. He's also worked with Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. So this is a guy who has experience, and he is a quarterback whisperer, in my opinion. So over 3 years at North Texas, look, the record might not be great, but you have to realize he took this program from the bottom and built them up. I mean, 21-15, that's 2 years of trying to, get the right players in, get the right coaches around this program and build them. And now they're in a 3-way tie with Navy and Tulane. And now I'm hearing Oklahoma State will have to pay, $2.5 million almost, 2.3?
Yeah, like 2.3.
And buyout. So, 100% a distraction because of them fighting for a CFP spot. But, yeah, you mentioned it before. This is not the level of a situation like we have with some other coaches potentially leaving bigger programs than North Texas right now. So, all in all, distraction level, I'd say about 6 out of 10. Not terrible, not great. I don't think North Texas is making the CFP, though. That's for damn sure.
All right. Some interesting comments from both of you guys. Here's a tidbit. So the famous Mike Gundy, I'm a man, I'm 40 press conference. We all remember that, right? Mm-hmm. Eric Morris played in that game. He was a wide receiver for Texas Tech, played in that game against Oklahoma State, had 2 receptions for like 16 yards. So not a huge impact, but that comes full circle. Mike Gundy's a man. He's 40. Eric Morris is in the game. Eric Morris is a man. He's 40. He is now the Oklahoma State head coach. He had a 21-15 record at North Texas, obviously still pending, and 24-18 at Incarnate Word. He's 45-33 as a head coach in 7 years. Offensive coordinator at Washington State, head coach at Incarnate Word, offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. So he was also at Houston for a little bit. So he's familiar with the Power 4, but this will be his first Power 4 head coaching job, and I'm excited to see how it goes. Let's go to our 6-pack, ladies and gentlemen. We have a bunch of fun games. It's rivalry week in college football. It's Thanksgiving. So we have 3 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday that I think are going to be really fun. The first one we're going to talk about, I don't know how great this game will be, but with just all the buzz around this guy, this coach, and his program, it felt only right that we needed to talk about the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss, number 6, Ole Miss going to Starkville to take on Mississippi State, 11 a.m. Friday. 11 a.m. on Black Friday is not right for the Egg Bowl. It needs to be Thanksgiving night. Please fix this. Greg Sankey or whoever the fuck I need to talk to in the SEC. It's not right to have this game at noon Eastern Friday, 11 a.m. Central. I just don't like it. But with all the buzz around Lane, Tom sending message board reports in our group saying, Lane signed $90 million. He's closed on a house in Baton Rouge already. We'll see what happens, but when there's smoke, there is fire. Apparently, daily communication for Lane with LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida. Oh, and by the way, you're the number 6 team in the country, and you're trying to fight for the playoff. So, Tom, I'll start with you on this one. Let's talk Ole Miss. Let's talk Mississippi State. Do you think they will still have enough and be able to block out the noise enough to win this rivalry game?
Yes, because Joe Judge is in the room. Just saying. I believe he's the coach waiting in the wings for when this eventually does happen, which will be very interesting to see play out. Yes, I did read a report on Reddit that Lane Kiffin did close on a house in Baton Rouge. Do I believe it for sure? No, but there is a lot of smoke. And as Andy said, smoke brings fire. And you look at this game, it's a rivalry game, so it's not going to be a blowout. They're 7.5-point favorites on the road. I think that speaks to their resume this season. However, the Bulldogs are just 1-6 in the SEC. Ole Miss running back Kawan Lacey has 19 rushing touchdowns on the year. Trinidad Chambliss has been a great successor to Jackson Dart. Those are not easy shoes to fill. Ole Miss rolls to 11-1. And I believe they do win this football game. I can't tell you what's going to happen between now and then with Lane Kiffin, though. That is it's a cluster. I think regardless, they're good enough to win this football game, despite what might happen to that.
Noah, Ole Miss or Mississippi State, and do we get any dog pissing celebrations in the end zone? Do you guys remember that from a few years ago?
Yeah.
Of course.
I think the only chance Mississippi State has is if, like you kind of alluded to, Andy, there's a massive distraction around the team. But supposedly, from what Keith Carter said in a statement a couple of days ago, Lane Kiffin is apparently focused on this game. So I just think overall, Ole Miss is just way more talented, has way better team than Mississippi State. It is a rivalry game, however, and it is in Starkville, so I do think it will be closer than people might expect. Spread is about 7.5. I think that's kind of right for a game like this. But overall, guys, I just think still Ole Miss, I think, just has too much talent compared to a mediocre Mississippi State team who is third last in the SEC, right? If it was something like, Mississippi State was like a 7 or 8 win team, I could maybe see a potential upset alert here. But I just think Mississippi State, unfortunately for them, has too many holes in this one. Despite the doubt and uncertainty around this Ole Miss program at the moment, I do still believe they have enough to get it done and win this game. I'll go by like 10 points, something like that.
10-point win for Ole Miss. I think the Rebels get this one done as well. I know the Cowbells will be rocking in Starkville, but I can't trust this Bulldogs team. I don't know if I trust Jeff Lebby as a head coach. And especially with all the Chapin got benched, I think, right? He had all that going back and forth with the fans and stuff like that. Just not a good season for the Bulldogs this year, and I think Ole Miss will be able to capitalize on that no matter what's going on behind the scenes there. So let's go to our next rivalry game, and it's one I know Noah is excited for. Number 4, Georgia is hosting number 23, Georgia Tech's host. No, it's at Mercedes-Benz. I suck. It's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Either way, a big matchup, a fun matchup. Georgia favored by 13.5. Noah, how bad are you guys going to beat the Yellow Jackets on Friday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. on ABC?
You know what? I actually think, as much as I want to say that we'll win by 35 points or whatever, I do think this will actually be a close game. Remember last year's game, guys, that went to overtime, like 9 overtimes or whatever, the 2-point shootout? I don't think it'll be like that. I do think we still will win the game, right? That's my pick. Georgia will win the game. but I do believe it will be a close game. Now, I will say this neutral site, there's going to be more Georgia fans here. Georgia Tech fans delude themselves into thinking their program is as big as ours. It is not. It will be majority Georgia fans, even if it's in Atlanta. So keep that in mind. But, I do think it'll be a close game. I think two really good quarterbacks in this game in Stockton and King. Key for the Georgia defense is, once again, kind of like what Pittsburgh did. They have to slow down this Georgia Tech rushing attack. If they do that, force Haynes King to have to beat you throwing the football, get some pass rush against them as well. But what I saw in that Pittsburgh game is that this Georgia Tech defense can be exploited, and Georgia has weapons to exploit that, and I believe they will. By the way, can I just say this? ESPN website, you made a massive mistake with your preview, getting rid of the stats, like the average yards per game and stuff. That's a big part, the most important part of previewing a game. So get it together, ESPN website. But Georgia will win this game by 2 scores. Book it.
A 2-score win for the Bulldogs is the pick from Noah. Tom, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I really like Kirby Smart and the Dogs in this game. Yeah, it was 8 overtimes last year. That got me sweating because that was a fun game to watch. It really put to the test of how good of a coach Kirby Smart was, being able to manage adversity in late game situations, extended periods. And the Dogs are also on a 7-game winning streak against the Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech is not hot at all right now, coming off that tough loss to Pittsburgh last week where they trailed 21-0 early on in that game. I think Georgia rolls. I think it's a different story this year. I think Georgia covers the 13.5-point spread. I trust Gunnar Stockton to make the correct throws. I like their defense with C.J. Allen and company, and they're going to roll. And what's crazy is they're the number 4 ranked team, and they might not even be in the SEC championship game, which is absolutely insane to state.
It is. That is very weird. I'm taking Georgia as well, and I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, Georgia Tech's last 3 games, you just lost by 14 to Pitt. You beat 1 win Boston College by 2, and then you lost by 12 before that to NC State. So you can't hang around with those guys in the ACC. What are the Bulldogs going to do to you? And like you said, this will basically be a home game for Georgia. I mean, I know that Georgia Tech's in Atlanta, but like you said, the fan bases, I don't think you can compare them as far as rabidness, passion for their teams, and just sheer size. So yeah, give me Georgia in this one to win, and I think they win big. Let's stay in the SEC and stay with the top 5 team. Number 3, Texas A&M, and number 17, Texas. 6:30 p.m. on Friday night. Tom, we'll start with you. Longhorns or Aggies?
Well, it's going to be a fantastic game with a fantastic quarterback matchup. I'm excited to see what type of game plan Mike Elko has on the road. This is definitely their toughest test outside of going to Notre Dame this season. And with Elko and company, they bring in a confident Aggies team coming off that great comeback against South Carolina. The Aggies have not won double-digit games since 2012. This is their best start since 1992. They also have the best wide receiver duo in the SEC with Mario Craver and Kevin Concepcion. Yeah, this is a really tough game to dissect because if you look at Texas, they've been playing a lot better over the past couple of weeks. We've seen them play really good football. We're seeing Arch Manning play a lot better. He's almost at 3,000 passing yards on the season. And Texas is a team where you got to kind of flush that performance against Georgia a little bit when it comes to this game. But all in all, I don't think Texas's defense is going to be able to hold up enough. I know Texas is the hot pick in this game, especially if you want to see Georgia in the SEC championship game. And talking about Texas A&M potentially being 12-0 doesn't make sense at all. But that is why I've thought about this really long and hard, but hook 'em.
Oh, he's taking the Longhorns, folks.
Texas forever.
They are Texas A&M currently only favored by 1.5.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Ugh.
Texas is plus 110 on the money line. That's according to ESPN Bet Sportsbook, which RIP to ESPN Bet Sportsbook. I think they're done in December. Noah, big one in the SEC. This is a big one. I'm sure, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, you guys are all rooting for Texas here. You want the Aggies to drop one, don't you?
You would think, but like I said, I've seen a lot of Georgia fans say they don't actually want to make the SEC championship game because you risk getting injuries and whatnot. I personally don't care. I think, when you want to win a title, right, you have to be prepared to win basically any game. But you know what? I really respect what Tom said right there, saying he took a lot of time to think this game over, because me personally, I took about 5 seconds to think this game over. I don't think Texas has any chance, guys. I'm going to be perfectly honest. You can say you can fuss that Georgia game all you want. I saw in that fourth quarter a team absolutely collapse under the pressure, get destroyed, end up losing by 25 points. And then last week, I saw them granted, they did win this game, but at home, they gave up 37 points and 512 yards to an absolutely abysmal Arkansas Razorbacks team. If they give up that many points to a team like that, I'm amazed to see what they're going to do against this A&M offense, which is absolutely electric. Oh, and by the way, they kind of have a lot on the line, so they're not going to look past this Texas game, especially a rivalry game like this. I do not think you're going to see A&M, coming to this game sluggish by any means. Texas also cannot run the football whatsoever, so I think that's a big weakness for them as well. I think, this line minus 1.5 in favor of A&M. I think this is more wishful thinking than anything. Top to bottom, A&M has been a way better team this season. I do not think this game will be that close as people think. I actually think A&M will win this game by 14 points.
14-point win for A&M. That is a hell of a prediction. I'm going to go with A&M as well, man. They're tested on the road. Obviously, that win at Notre Dame earlier this year, 41-40. They beat LSU on the road, 49-25. They beat Missouri on the road, 38-17. Notre Dame on the road, that incredibly impressive win. LSU, say what you want about LSU and Missouri, but I mean, those are two ranked teams, and winning on the road in the SEC is hard. So it's going to be tough. Going to be a tough game. I think Texas will show up because they're ready to play spoiler, right? And Arch has been playing just about as good as he has all year. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think Marcel Reed goes in to DKR, and I think he gets the win for Texas A&M. So let's go to our first Saturday game, and it's the game, boys. The Big Ten, one that everybody is, waits for. They talk about all year. Ohio State and Michigan. Number one, Ohio State, 11-0, going to the Big House to take on the 9-2 Michigan Wolverines. Michigan has kind of owned this matchup as of late, but Ohio State is the defending national champion, and they have looked better than anybody, to be honest with you, in my opinion, so far this year. Ryan Day is only 1-4 against the Wolverines. Can he get that monkey off of his back this year? Tom, we'll start with you. Big one in the Big House, the game, Ohio State, Michigan. Who gets it done? Two teams you love, by the way. You love Michigan and Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. They're my two favorites. You can't say anything much more than that. I mean, you look at Ohio State, they haven't lost since last year's Michigan game. The matchup I'm really looking at is left tackle, redshirt sophomore Austin Sierraveld going up against Michigan's edge rusher Derek Moore, who has 9.5 sacks. The way Michigan wins this football game is if you keep Ohio State and Julian Sayin off the field. And they were able to do that last year. They're at home this year. And Ryan Day is going to go in and make adjustments based off of what happened last season. Michigan has two running backs that could run the ball really well. Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, the Alabama transfer. Each guy has over 850 rushing yards. Each guy has 10 touchdowns. and you have this what was supposed to be a freshman phenom quarterback in Bryce Underwood, and he is really going to be tested in this game. I personally think he hasn't played the best this season. He did have a good performance against Maryland last week, but the 2 picks against Northwestern, if they're going to win this game, they have to keep the ball out of his hands, quite frankly. I just don't know how it's going to get done. And you look at Ohio State, you got Julian Sayin, who's had a fantastic season, 2,800 pass yards, 27 touchdowns to only 4 picks. And then you have 2 star receivers in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, both who will be drafted very, very soon. Smith has 1 more year to go after this. But, Smith with 10 touchdowns, 900 yards, Carnell Tate with 711 and 7 scores. But when you're looking at Michigan's secondary, right, if you're able to stop the run, you're able to contain both of those receivers, because then you're getting them in 3rd and long, and that's where you want to be. So in the secondary for the Wolverines, you need guys like Brandon Hillman and TJ Metcalf to really step up in this game. Cole Sullivan, the linebacker, as well. All good things must come to an end. Streaks must come to an end. But speaking of coming to an end, Ohio State's winning streak will come to an end. Michigan wins outright.
Oh, you got me with that one. Wolverines.
They baited me on that.
He baited the shit out of us, Noah. He got me. Wolverines the pick from Tommy Boy. Noah, will your pick be as shocking and surprising as Tom's?
Oh, this is a really tough one for me, guys. I'm gonna be honest. The last 5 years I picked this game, I've been wrong basically every single time, because I always think, oh, this is the year Ohio State is gonna break the streak and beat Michigan, and then they end up losing anyway. Last year at home, I mean, they were like a 3-touchdown favorite last year, guys, against a struggling Michigan team, and they still could not get it done. Now they did not end up winning the title anyway, and in my opinion, they've been the best team in college football this season. But they're going to the big house, and this is not some underachieving Michigan team, guys. They are 9-2, number 15 in the country. Since that Oklahoma loss week 2, they have gone 8-1. Their only loss on the road to USC, who's pretty respectable team. However, this is by far the toughest team they have played this season. I do still think Ohio State is the best team in the country. For Michigan to win this game, number one, their defense is really solid, but Ohio State is the best in the country. So for Michigan, they need to get pass rush against Julian Sayin. If you let him stand back there and have time to throw, he will pick you apart, because he's been the most efficient quarterback, or one of the most, in college football this season. They got to get their pass rush going, help that secondary out. For offensively, Tom mentioned Underwood. He's a bit more of an unproven guy, so for them, they need to rely on the running game, and they have 2 very good running backs to do it. Marshall and Haynes, both averaging 5 yards per carry this season, both with 10 touchdowns on the year. That is their 1-2 punch at running back. And you know what? Ohio State has had a very good season, but no team is invincible. I'm going to do probably the stupidest thing I've done all season. I'm going to pick Michigan in the upset, like Tommy Boy. I think they will get it done. Ryan Day is 1-4 against the Michigan Wolverines. It will be 1-5 out of this game. Michigan will win this game by 7 points at home.
Wow. I don't know if I was expecting this from the podcast today, fellas, but give me the Buckeyes. You guys are fucking insane. Ohio State's defense is number 1 in yards per game, number 1 in pass yards per game, number 2 in rush yards per game, number 1 in points allowed per game, and number 3 in third down percentage. They give up 80 rush yards per game. Oh, if you can't hurt them on the ground, well, they only give up 107 through the air. I just don't trust this Wolverine offense to have enough firepower to keep up, to be honest with you. Ohio State, they're really, really good on both sides of the ball. Sayin is arguably the Heisman favorite, although give it to Jeremiah Love. I'm all in on that for you, Tommy Boy. But they're only give up 80 yards on the ground. I know Haynes and has been terrific, and Marshall's been terrific, but man, I've seen this Ohio State team play, firsthand, and They're tough. Even if they get into the red zone, they don't give up points. I just don't know. I don't think Michigan can keep up. I know that's boring, but I think Ohio State goes to 12-0. I think they get it done against the Wolverines. Let's go to another Saturday game. We've got this one and then one more. We're in the ACC. It's also 11 o'clock on Saturday. Miami, 9-2, number 12, going to number 22, Pittsburgh. So we talked about Pitt earlier. They're 6-1 in the ACC. They have to win this game and have to win the ACC title game to get in. Miami is in the same situation. They need a little more help. So let's see. Tom, we'll start with you. Pittsburgh, Miami, Carson Beck, Heinzel. This is a huge game with playoff implications. Does Pitt have enough to get it done in back-to-back weeks?
I mean, before I answer that, I just want to give it up to Miami, man. I want to congratulate them. I mean, for beating Virginia Tech on the road by 17 points. That is a very difficult task to accomplish this day and age. And Reuben Bain has even been more impressive. Only 3 sacks all season long. That is very difficult for the number 1 rated edge rusher in this year's draft class to accomplish. Only 3. Oh, and how about Carson Beck, the senior Georgia transfer from Jacksonville, Florida? Congratulations. 3 touchdown passes against NC State, 4 against Virginia Tech. That is your job. That is nothing to get super excited about. But he has played a lot better. I will give him that. As I transition from sarcasm to seriousness, I truthfully think that Miami is a good football team. They have just run into a lot of jumps and hurdles this year that they have been unable to overcome adversity in critical key moments of games. Hence, the overtime loss to SMU. How about that loss at home to Louisville, where Carson Beck threw 4 picks? These are all things to consider when talking about this game. But the thing for me is Pittsburgh still, they're in a situation where they must win if they want to get into the ACC title game. They have a very young quarterback in Mason Heinzel. Jacurian Turner just had a monster game last week rushing. And they have good receivers with Kenny Johnson and Raphael Williams Jr. So there is a lot of promise on this Pittsburgh team. However, I trust Mario Cristobal to screw up less than Pat Narduzzi. So give me Miami to cover that 6.5 point spread.
Miami over Pitt. Noah, what do you think?
Wow. So first I'll start with Pittsburgh. I did not expect them to win last week. I thought that was an impressive game for them against Georgia Tech. But there's still sort of the thing. I think I said a few weeks ago. I thought they would lose both of these games to end the season. And Miami is a tough one because, I mean, let's be honest, guys. Is there any player you would trust more in a big game than Carson Beck? I don't know. I'm really struggling to think of somebody. But in all seriousness, I still think Miami's probably a better team than Pittsburgh. I think Miami has a better defense. In my opinion, I think they have a more complete defense. I think Pittsburgh's strengths on defense don't match up the best with Miami because they're a team that's much better against the run than the pass. But Miami is a team that likes to pass the ball around with some of the weapons they have. Carson Beck has, let me check real quick. I'm pretty sure he's 323 pass attempts this season, so almost 30 per game. This is a team that loves both running it with Mark Fletcher and passing it through the air with some of the, Malachi Tony, those guys as well. If I look at Miami stats this season, they're 21st passing, only 76 rushing, and 26 scoring. Pittsburgh is 93rd against the pass. They give up 237 yards per game. Pittsburgh also is not amazing running the football on offense. So I think this Miami defense, which is 6th against the rush, could potentially get Heinzel and this Pittsburgh offense a bit one-dimensional. I hope Pittsburgh does win, but I do not think they will. I think Miami is still a better team talent-wise, and there's a lot of pressure on this Pittsburgh team, right? They basically need to win this game to try and get into the ACC championship game. playoff hopes on the line. I think it might be a bit too much for them. Give me Miami by 10.
Pressure's a privilege, fellas. Give me Pat Narduzzi and the Panthers to take out Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes fall once again late in the season, and Carson Beck cries his way to whatever he's going to do in the millions of dollars he already has. So whatever. All right. Last game I want to hit on. We'll get our lock of the week and we'll get the hell out of here. Number 14 Vanderbilt is going to Rocky Top, taking on number 19 Tennessee. A huge game for Vanderbilt. They're trying to keep their playoff hopes somewhat alive, and they really cannot afford another loss. Pavia, Aguilar, Noah, we'll start with you. How do you see this quarterback matchup going? How do you see the game going?
I think both of these quarterbacks will have great games, guys, because neither of these defenses can stop a nosebleed through the air. I mean, I'm looking at their statistics right now. Vanderbilt defense is 113th against the pass. Tennessee, 111. So basically, they're equally bad at stopping the pass. However, I hate to say it, guys. I think I am leaning Tennessee in this game. I think a road game at Neyland might be a bit too much for this young and promising Vanderbilt team. I think for Vanderbilt to have a chance, it's going to come all down to Pavia. I think he's going to have a remarkable game. But on the other side for Tennessee, Joey Aguilar has been no slouch whatsoever for Tennessee this season. Two really solid offenses, two not so great defenses against the pass. I do think Vanderbilt's better against the run, but I don't think that's going to matter too much in this game. I think both of these teams are going to be airing it out in this one. For Vanderbilt, the key as well, Pavia needs to get some stuff on the ground as well with his mobility, because that is the way I think they can exploit this Tennessee defense a bit. But just at home, if it was at Vanderbilt, it was Nashville, I might consider picking Vanderbilt. But I think just this road atmosphere, I think it'll be a little bit too much. So I'm going to pick Tennessee to win this game. Spread is 3.5. I think that's about right. I'm going to pick Tennessee by 4.
Tennessee by 4 is the pick for Noah. Tom, the Doors or the Volunteers?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game to break down, right? Tennessee has had a bit of an underwhelming season for their standards. 3 losses already heading into the last week. That is not what you expect with Tennessee football, but I think Josh Heupel, all in all, despite that, has done a good job. I just think they were put in a terrible situation this offseason with Nico Iamaleava transferring late to UCLA and then basically having to start Joey Aguilar. And it's hurt them this season. It took some time for him to get acclimated to the offense, and we saw some struggles in road games against Alabama and Texas, but they have not lost a game at home this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Vanderbilt, their losses, Alabama and Texas, they need to find a way to win an important SEC game on the road, because the only significant game on the road they've won this year was at South Carolina, and that was a long, long time ago. So it's very difficult because I love Diego Pavia. He's coming off a monster game. I believe he had 5 touchdown passes last week, threw for well over 300 yards. I mean, this guy's a baller. I want to see him do well. I want to see him win. He completes 72% of his passes, 26 touchdown passes, and 8 rushing touchdowns as well. And I think Aguilar is not that good. He has 10 picks this year. Tennessee leans on their run game. You look at Deshaun Bishop, 886 yards and 12 scores. Star Thomas is another good complimentary back with 7 touchdowns. And then Chris Brazzell in the receiving game is really, really good too. He has 8 scores. And if you look at Vanderbilt, it's kind of the Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers show. He is their security blanket. The tight end has over 700 yards on the year. The Vols have won 6 straight in this series. Vanderbilt has not beaten Tennessee since 2018. As much as I love Diego football, I am picking Tennessee until Vanderbilt finally beats them. Again, it's at home, 3.5. Tennessee wins, but they failed to cover. I think Vanderbilt covers that 3.5 point spread.
I think the time is now, fellas. Diego football and the Doors get it done. And Clark Lee goes into Neyland, takes out Rocky Top. I think Vanderbilt wants this game more. They need it more. They have more to play for at this point, and I trust Diego Pavia a whole lot more than I trust Aguilar to put the game on his shoulders and just will them to win. So give me Vandy in this one. Awesome slate we have. It's Thanksgiving week. It's rivalry week. Happy Thanksgiving once again to everyone. We appreciate you taking some time out of your holiday week to talk some ball with us. So let's lock it up and let's get the hell out of here. Tommy, you go ahead.
Lock of the week. I got to get back to my winning ways this week. I believe I am 10-3. Notre Dame beats Stanford by at least 3 touchdowns.
Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns over Stanford. I think they're favored by 33. So yeah, it should be a long one for the Cardinal. Noah, you won last week, right?
I did. Yes.
Let's
correct.
make that 2 weeks in a row. What do we got?
Well, it would be 3 weeks in a row, Andrew.
3
but
weeks in a row. Sorry.
You stopped updating the tally because you lose every week.
Yeah, that's true.
But you guys know what I like doing. I like going for these key rivalry games, in-state rivalry games with massive implications. And I'm looking at the state of Louisiana for this one. UL Monroe going up against the Raging Cajuns at Cajun Field. What a game this is. -9.5 for the Raging Cajuns in this one. I'll tell you what, one of my favorite college football names, Lunch Winfield, the Raging Cajuns quarterback. I'll tell you what, guys,
Incredible.
He's no Antoine Winfield because he's a quarterback, not a cornerback. But he's going to have this UL Monroe Warhawks defense eating their lunch in this one because the Cajuns are going to get it done. And UL Monroe, they're going to be crying to the offseason with a 3-9 record. What a terrible season for them.
UL Monroe 3-9. We can always count on you for this. Okay, yeah, you're 8-5. 8-5 on the year, Noah. Tom's 10-3. I'm 3-10. I haven't won since the fucking Clinton administration. So again, this is I'm sorry to Texas A&M and the Aggie fan base, but Texas A&M money line is my lock of the week over Texas. We'll see how that crashes and burns. But you better lock it up. This is the Tailgate Committee. My name's Andy Hopper. That's Tom Scavetta. That's Noah Diebler. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Rivalry Week. Happy Feast Week for all of our college basketball heads out there. It's been an awesome wall-to-wall college basketball week. A great sports week. Happy to be here. Happy to be with my fellas. I'm thankful for this show. I'm thankful for Tom and Noah for putting up with me for an hour and a half each week and through our text thread and just being able to really talk some ball with the fellas. Because at the end of the day, that's all we want to do is we want to talk some ball with the fellas. But follow us on social media. We're at the Tailgate Committee on Facebook and Instagram, and we are at the Tailgate Com on Twitter. And please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Really would help out the channel. We're going up. And the end of the season is right around the corner. We will be with you through all of it. Once again, Andy, Tom, Noah, Tailgate Committee. Peace.